What place gets creepy when you're alone? Hotel. I work at a hotel, and actually one time in a dozen years of me working there, there was one day we had absolutely no guests in house. I did not like that, one bit. I hated being in that huge building all by myself. Similarly, dorm buildings. Former raw. During closing time it was so airy, especially with every door open and the large communal showers all alone. You know what makes that worse? When you're in the basement and all the lights are off and the only other person in the building is your on the top floor. And you hear running and giggling at odd intervals. Turns out some of the raws in my area decided to play hide and seek in my dorm and didn't bother to tell me till I went out and almost decked a person. I stayed in the dorm a couple days into spring break once and almost no one was on campus. I had the brilliant idea of watching all 3 Godfather movies since I had the DVDs. They aren't scary, so I didn't really think anything of it until I had to get up and shower for an early flight. With the dark, emptiness and quiet, I could not shake the feeling someone was going to come around the corner and try to whack me. I worked night shifts as a security guard in a huge old mansion owned by my university but temporarily unoccupied. There were winding halls, multiple kitchens, doors intended to blend with the wall, staircases dead-ending into bedrooms, and all sorts of other weird architectural stuff. Every hour I had to check every dark empty room and then around the exterior. It was located deep in the woods with nothing else around. Proofreading this, it sounds fake, but no. This is exactly how it was. I swear I straight up hallucinated some stuff, shapes in the bushes, figures standing at the end of halls. It's so dumb because I don't believe in any supernatural stuff, and I knew rationally that there's nothing to be afraid of. But I was often terrified. My basement looks like it should be the set for a Hostel-type movie. Worst of all, my dad bought some old barber chairs he's going to restore someday. So this room that already looks like a torture chamber now has 2 beat-up barber chairs in it. Worked third shift in a major hospital. Had to bring samples to the lab in the basement at all hours of the night. Seriously, one of the creepiest places I've ever been. It was pristinely clean with fluorescent lighting which just gave it a really weird vibe to me for some reason. There's one main hall that is about 300–400 feet long with corridors splitting off the whole way. I always pictured a zombie from 28 Days Later sprinting towards me from the other end. The subway. When it's packed with people, it's fine. You are just rushing with the rest of the crowd to catch the train. But when you are alone and every sound is bouncing off the walls, that's so creepy. The artificial lights don't feel as unnatural as they do when you are alone. You find yourself yearning for the sun or the stars or anything real. A small cloud of fireflies would be better than the hum of overhead artificial lights. Even the air smells stale down there. It feels like a tomb but with a train ready to take you on the way out. The library. I work in a big 60-year-old academic library. I have recently started using my office from time to time with everyone else still working from home. I am ashamed to say I turned all of the lights on the floor on while I was there. The bathrooms are the creepiest. They haven't ever been updated and have a real 1960s feel. Midway up the basement stairs after turning the lights off at the bottom. Who the hell installs the light switch at the bottom of the stairs rather than the top? Mom and I got lost in South Carolina when I was about 16–17. Back roads, fog drifting up like a horror movie, no wind, nothing but trees. Tiny white church. Graveyard. Trees. Over and over again. We kept locking the doors every few minutes just in case. Finally got to a big road with a motel. No one there but 2 guys working the desk. No other cars anywhere, not even driving by. We got to our room and pushed the dresser across the doorway and slept as far away from the window as we could. We were up and out with the sun. Goodbye South Carolina. Story time. Back in 2014 I was working an evening shift in an industrial area, so I'd arrive for work around 4 p.m. and leave around 1 a.m. My ride was the family's cargo van. They used it to deliver produce, that had no windows in the back. Oh, and the locks didn't work. So I'd come out at 1 a.m. to an empty parking lot and climb into my murder van that had been unlocked and unattended the 8-9 hours prior, and then hop in and hope for the best. And some nights I'd creep myself out and wind up swerving wildly in the parking lot on the way out to toss any hiding kidnappers/murderers that were waiting in the dark for me. Practically any room in my house after I watch a horror movie. This reminds me. One year when I was in grad school, I had to stay over Thanksgiving break to do work on a research grant. My girlfriend very kindly volunteered to stay with me. She had a small, even by college town standards, studio apt with a twin bed, and I lived with 3 guys in a rental house with a nice big room and a queen bed. So we decided to stay at my place. The house was at the very end of a residential road, and backed up onto a holler with some thick vegetation and a stream. I think literally 98% of the people on the surrounding streets were also college students in rental houses, so my street and the adjacent ones were all pretty much barren and silent over the Thanksgiving break. Stupidly, my girlfriend and I decided to watch It Follows one of the nights we were there alone. That movie OFC was creepy by itself, but then being in that 50-plus-year-old house, on an empty road, with dark woods behind us that night just put it over the edge. We heard everything. Every rat and raccoon and armadillo in the backyard. Every acorn hitting the roof. And at one point we swore we heard something out front. We eventually fell asleep probably at like 6 a.m. when the sun was coming up. Well, the next day, I go out to my car. I drove an old beat-up Jeep, and believe it or not the canvas top was unzipped and someone had jimmied the glove box and ashtray open. So actually we probably had heard someone out there. The cops said it was probably a homeless guy going around because he or she knew the kids were on break and houses were easy targets then. Needless to say, we spent the next 2 nights in my girlfriend's twin bed. Night hikes. People who go alone scare me. Prison. There's a section of our facility that closes at 10, and it has the gym, kitchen, barber shop and several classroom areas. It's not manned after this time period, as all the inmates are locked in for the night. But one lucky officer gets to do rounds in this section. Most people try to get it out of the way early in the shift, 11:30 p. 7:30 a, so hopefully done by 12:30 a, but sometimes shit happens, and you get busy. So, there's a classroom wing where officers report hearing footsteps behind them. It's the least echo-y part of the facility, so it's especially creepy. One asshole teacher used to have a creepy zombie face placed in the window of their office, so it looked like it was a person peeking out. We finally got that shit taken down, so no more impromptu heart attacks while doing that round. But the footsteps persist. You basically jog around the whole area checking the doors to get out faster. The kitchen. There are lots of hide-y-hole areas, so you have to be extra careful, even if the count cleared okay at 10 p.m., and no inmate movement has been had. Plus the phone has been known to ring and it's static on the other end. And you have to go into the creepy back hall where the freezers are to make sure they're at the right temps. Not fun. The gym. Officers have reported hearing sneaker squeaks, like someone running on the court, hearing and seeing basketballs bouncing when no one else is in the area. Apparently some officers don't gaff, because on their downtime after rounds, they go back up there to watch TV in the gym office. Not me. Fuck that. The barber shop. Central will report getting off the hook alarms and phone calls with no one on the other end, or static coming from there. Like, Central will call you over the radio and you call them from the main desk up there. Which is in front of the barber shop, and they'll ask you to confirm no one is using the phone in there. They'll literally have an off-the-hook alarm sounding, and the phone box in the barber shop is in your line of vision, physically locked, and yes, when you open it, the phone is hung up snugly. The alarm shouldn't be going off, it has no reason to. And yet, damn near every night sometimes, this happens. So, prison.